And welcome to my video. Today I'm going to show you how to install KSM-440AEM in your original PlayStation. First thing we want to do is we want to turn off the power. Unplug the power cord. At this point, I like to turn the PlayStation back on. And if you note, the little green LED just lit up. So now go ahead and turn it back off. And the reason the green LED lit up is because there is electricity stored up in the capacitors inside the internal power supply. By turning it on, I help drain some of that power from the internal power supply. That will make our PlayStation safer to work with. You still shouldn't touch the internal power supply or the capacitors inside the internal power supply. Go ahead and turn our PlayStation over, and you'll note that there are 6 screws that need to be unscrewed. I have already done that step. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to remove your disc. The reason you want to remove your disc is because it will stick to the spindle hub, and then when you lift up your lid, the drive will come up with it. And it could potentially pull on one of these cables that's connected to the motherboard and damage the connector on the motherboard. So there are 2 cables connecting this drive to the motherboard. There's the power cable and there's the data cable. And first we want to disconnect the data cable. Just gently but firmly pull up on it and it'll come right out. Flip your drive over, and you'll see that the power cable is connected to the green printed circuit board on the CD-ROM drive. And what I like to do is I like to put my thumb on the green printed circuit board because when you pull out, you don't want to damage any of the solder points that's connecting that circuit board to the rest of the drive. Now we can place our drive to the side. Now, of course, you'll probably be disposing of your old drive. I would highly recommend recycling, save the planet, and all that stuff. Now we have our replacement drive. I sell these on my eBay store. There's a link in the description below. Pretty much all of the drives will come in a craft box like this. Open up your box. Mine usually come in a blue or a gray anti-static bag to protect the drive from electrostatic discharge. However, sometimes they'll sell the laser lens brand, and those will come in a little black plastic case that I'm guessing is probably an anti-static case, but I don't know for sure. Remove the bag, and now here we have our new drive. Now you'll note that there are 3 rubber boots on this drive, or feet. And those correspond with these metal dowels sticking out of the heat shield. And so when you place your drive, you're going to want to set it down so that the feet are surrounding the metal dowels. If you look here, you should be able to see all 3 of them, and you'll note that the metal dowels are coming up through the rubber feet. But before you set your drive down and mount it, you're going to want to connect the power cord. So just plug it back in where you unplugged it before, You don't need to worry about the orientation. There's only one orientation that's correct, but there's only one orientation that will actually work, because all the other the other orientation, it physically won't fit inside the connector. But you can see here that there are 3 gray cables and 1 white cable, and the white cable is the one on the outside. So your data cable is usually tucked in down here. Just gently remove it. Drive over. Now you want to make sure that your power cord is not on the inside of the dowel, but that it's on the outside. You also want to make sure that it's not straddling the dowel. So if it's straddling the dowel, it will cause stability issues with the drive, and will have issues reading disks. And if you have it on the inside, it could potentially interfere with the moving of the internal components. So I recommend routing the power cable outside of this dowel right here. So now you can set your drive down on the dowels again. Note that they go inside the rubber feet. And now you just plug your data cable back in. You'll note that the side is white and the side is the orange side with the pins. So your drive is now installed. Now, of course, you're obviously going to want to test it to make sure it works. Now, you could go ahead and test it like this. If you do that, you're going to need to insert something here and push down on the switch that is for the drive lid being closed. So there's a sensor there. You press down on the switch, and it detects that the drive lid is closed. And otherwise, it won't even attempt to read the disk. It's a safety feature to keep people from staring into the laser and ruining their eyes. I prefer, though, the method of putting the lid back on. Make sure it's oriented correctly. And go ahead and up, put the disc in. Now you'll also note that my table's a little uneven right now, partially because of how I have the PlayStation set, and second because it's a cheap table from Walmart. And I point that out because when you're testing it, you want to make sure that when you push down any of the 4 corners of the PlayStation, that it isn't wobbling. Great, so now plug it back in, power supply, and turn it back on. And now you'll see that our game has loaded and our new CD-ROM drive works. However, you will want to test it with multiple games, and you'll also want to make sure that you test it with a game's FMV sequence. So all those the little movies that the PlayStation games have. If any of them stutter, you may need to adjust the trim pot. But that's a topic for another video. Thank you, and keep gaming.